Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Wednesday, March the 10th, 2021. I got the year right too, Joe. And
Yes.
the Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst. The website is liholidaylighting.com. Phone number is 631-957-5106. Your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs, or perhaps you want to do this as a business. When we get closer to the holidays, give Giannini a call, 631-957-5106. Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini. And brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware. They got mulch, they got topsoil, they got gravel, they got everything you need. And they got different color mulch too. They're at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. 631-756-1125, the best prices in town. OmniTrueValue.com is the website, and they are both local businesses. And as we like to say here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, support your local business is. All right, Robert Russo is a early super chat hit tonight. Thank you, Robert, for doing that. Joe and I appreciate it greatly. I hope everybody enjoyed the south-southeast wind today. Did you enjoy it, Joe?
It really wasn't all that bad. I mean, it was cooler than yesterday, but it felt comfortable. I'm watching as more and more of my lawn reappears. And tomorrow, Joe, I think we're going to be going for broke. As we were talking about yesterday, a lot of the models don't tend to latch on to the big warm up in situations like this. I went on average about 4 degrees above GFS Moss, but I could easily see it going like 6, 7, 8 degrees above. I think New York City is a lock to get to, or at least get above 70 degrees tomorrow, possibly even tie or break a record. And most everywhere, it's going to be a very balmy March day. I didn't look back to see when was the last time we had temperatures as warm as what we're expecting tomorrow, but it has certainly been a long time in coming.
A lot of places along the coast did not get out of the 40s today, and that included a good chunk of Long Island, unless you were somewhere in maybe northwestern Nassau County, or perhaps maybe even into northwestern Suffolk, like in the corner of northwestern Suffolk. But yeah, it didn't. It was a tough. It's a tough. The spring. I have said this for years. If you live on a south-facing shoreline in the Northeast, the spring is a god-awful time of year because for the next two and a half months, you're really going to have to deal with this marine layer on a regular basis. Well, this wasn't really a marine layer. Let me take it back. You are going to be dealing with situations like this where a high goes out to the east of us, and you get into a a, a oh, good Lord, a south-south. I'm just reading a covered up message. Thank you, Johnny Quest, for doing that. The the south or the south-southeast wind coming in right off the water is always problematic. And then when we get into April and May, when it starts to warm up and you get situations where you get into a northeast wind, the warm up of the ocean takes forever, and you get these marine layers that get in here, and you're you're sitting in clouds for days and days on end. What I like to call the doom and gloom weather.
Do you
Excuse
think
me.
that we're going to, at least out across Long Island, are you concerned about fog later tonight or tomorrow morning?
I mentioned that there could be. I don't think it'll be. If the wind is moving around enough, there shouldn't be. But Long Island can be a strange place sometimes, especially with the wind, the southeast wind. So wouldn't be a shocker to me if some fog develops in a few places.
Well, yeah, I don't see any reason to be any concerned about that up here, here inland, 50 miles north of New York City. But sometimes in valley spots and situations like this, you see a little patch or two. unexpectedly pop up. But I think tonight will be basically clear. Tomorrow, I'm looking for just a few thin, high clouds in the sky, Joe. And with that sunshine, that high sun angle, and the south southwesterly wind that'll be blowing, I can't see any reason why many areas are going to be challenging or maybe going above 70. And I think I just get the inkling that tomorrow, when we come back here tomorrow evening, we're going to say, "Wow, you know, we expected mild temperatures. We weren't expecting this." I just have a feeling we're going to see the temperatures, the mercury, overperform tomorrow, well above what the various models are suggesting for tomorrow.
I, I'm in total agreement. And Friday, even though we have a cold front that's coming through, and it looks like the timing of that front is early in the day, the colder air that's behind it will probably wait until Friday evening and Friday night into Saturday to get in here. There'll be enough of a launching pad Thursday night. Temperatures, where are they going to go Thursday night? They're going nowhere. They're going to hold in the 50s, maybe even to the warmer urban areas might even wind up holding at 60. And then it wouldn't take much to push it up. You get the front to go through, break out into a little bit of sunshine, and you could shoot the temperature back up to 70 before the cooler air comes in. And then,
Absolutely. I
uh,
think we will have another balmy day on Friday. And as far as precipitation, whatever showers we see with that front may be pretty well over said and done by 7 in the morning. Whatever we see on Friday probably will be in the pre-dawn or pre-daybreak hours of Friday. Which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, um, I say that from the standpoint that by 7 o'clock it's bright, it's sunny, it's clear, it's dry, blah 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 blah, and you won't have that anymore after Sunday because thanks to the politicos who decided to move daylight saving time or the beginning of daylight saving time to the second weekend of March, you will all be waking up again in the dark come Sunday, and especially when all of you are heading out to work on Monday morning.
well, I have not heard back. I have not seen anything yet. I have to go. I'll check after the show because I mentioned it the other day that the bill passed the Georgia uh, the Georgia House uh, by a huge margin to keep Georgia in standard time, and it was supposed to go over to the Georgia Senate. So I don't know what they did with it, or if they've done anything with it. So there is still, I guess, a chance that I may be in standard time. So I'll still get the European at starting at 1 o'clock, and you'll start it at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. Yeah,
Although I could go do the show 17 miles to my north and do it
it'll be two
from
o'clock there.
Murphy, North Carolina. Yeah, it'll be 2 o'clock there. I wonder how you handle that when you. Now that I'm close to a border, I'm gonna find out if we wind up staying in standard time. I'm gonna make it a point to drive over to Murphy, North Carolina, and just see what it's like when you what happens when you cross over. And just maybe ask a few people, what's the deal here? How are you dealing with this hour time change when you, because a lot of people, there are people that go from Georgia here and work in Western North Carolina, and there are people that work in Western North Carolina that live in Western North Carolina that come down into North Georgia. So it ought to be fun to find out what the deal is.
It
But
is, and but the sad part about it is that if you have to go to work somewhere, if you're in Georgia and you're still on standard time, and you're accustomed to getting up, let's say at 7 o'clock in the morning, you have to remember that the folks 17 miles to your north are already at 8 o'clock and may already be at work. So this
right,
may mean that you have to get up earlier.
I feel like the Bugs. I feel like the Bugs Bunny routine with Daffy Duck, where Daffy walks away frustrated, saying, "This week was next week, last week." That means, right? By the way,
Right.
I forgot to mention this yesterday, but it was somebody's very special day yesterday, somebody's birthday yesterday.
Really?
Yes, I think it was yesterday or Monday. No, it was yesterday. And it's all my fault. I meant to mention it. I did not mention it. So if you are watching Sal Blandino, happy
Oh,
happy birthday to you. Uh, and many happy returns of the day a day late.
Happy birthday
Birthday to you.
to you. Happy
Happy birthday
birthday
to you.
to you. Happy
Happy birthday,
birthday,
Sal
dear
Blandino.
Blandino.
Happy
Happy birthday
birthday to you.
to you. That's about as off key as you could possibly get.
Whoa.
But Sal, we're not laughing at you, we're laughing with you.
Yes, we are. Hang on a second. Oh, there it is. I just had a weird experience. Joe Rayo's monitoring the chat board, so if you've got questions, comments, or if there are any issues uh, regarding the sound, let us know. So far, so good. And you asked that question, Joe, about fog. I pulled up the U.S. satellite. I don't really see any low clouds. These detailed satellites are just terrific, and you actually can see low clouds out in the ocean right now. But they're oddly enough they're moving west to east rather than moving from east to west. Perhaps what might keep any kind of low cloudiness out, Joe, is the fact that the wind may start to bend around to south and southwest during the night rather than staying
Right.
east or southeast. And that probably will keep things honest and moving as far as that's concerned. There's some high clouds coming across Pennsylvania, western New York, and down into from Ohio to actually just east of me. They actually moved through here this afternoon because I did lose the sun for a couple of hours, and then that has moved on out. You can see a lot of action going on around the Great Lakes. We have a little bit of severe weather going on this evening in parts of the upper Midwest. Storm coming in from off the Pacific into California. That's going to bring some snows to the Central Rockies and some other places too. But as you said, tomorrow I don't see what stops it. If you're along the coast, if you're on Long Island, if you're on in coastal Connecticut, southeastern New England, and don't want to leave Rhode Island out, there is a partial trajectory of that southwest wind does come over the ocean for a shorter period of time. It'll probably impact the temperatures some, keeping those areas, I think, maybe more in the low and mid 60s, or perhaps even in the coolest spots like eastern Long Island and out around the Cape, probably only in the 50s. But just inland from there, I think you're going to. And I also thought, Joe, too, there was enough of a looked like there was enough of a breeze that it's. I don't think it'll be a situation where you'll see the sea breeze, maybe shift the wind at Newark. Sometimes that happens, or New York City after about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Not impossible, but it may hold off.
Well, we've seen this time and time again. We've always seen now in setups like this that the temperatures always seem to overperform what the models are suggesting. And I think tomorrow, especially, will be most lovely out there. I mean, we've got a couple of places that are in line for possible records. I think New York City, for example, is going to be close to a record set back in 1977. I'm going for a high in New York tomorrow of 71, but that could easily be higher. The record is 73, set back in 1977. It may be more of a problem for Westchester. The record at White Plains, I believe, is like 68 degrees. I'm predicting a temperature tomorrow of around 63 or 65. We often say, Joe, that White Plains Westchester Airport is in White Plains. It's not. It's in Harrison, and
Yes.
it tends to be subjected to an onshore flow from Long Island Sound. I could remember so many times when I was at News 12 where, let's say, Central Park hit a record high, and the reporters who did a story on how warm it got in the day talked about, oh, it was a record high today in Westchester, and I always had to correct them, much to the chagrin of my news director. She said, why didn't we break a record at the airport of Westchester? I said, no, Janine, we got a easterly wind off of Long Island Sound, and the temperature always seemed like White Plains was like one of the few places that didn't break a record. There was always an underperforming. So tomorrow, I'll be interested to see just how warm White Plains gets. If it doesn't get much higher than 63 or 65, whereas everybody else around, gets to 70, it won't be surprising again because of that local flow from off of Long Island Sound.
Severe weather tonight. We've got a working tornado watch in northeastern Iowa and in southeastern Minnesota and a small portion of western Wisconsin. Two areas of slight risk indicated by SPC, the Storm Prediction Center. One that is where that tornado watch is. Another area of slight risk down into southeast Kansas and into Missouri. It doesn't look like there's any additional watch boxes that SBC may put something else up in a little while, but I'm not seeing anything. They usually have some kind of discussion or a potential severe thunderstorm or potential tornado watch mesoscale discussion, but they don't have anything up at the moment. Over the next couple of days, we've got severe weather risk. Now tomorrow, we have a marginal risk across southern Missouri, northeastern Oklahoma into southern Illinois, inside a small relatively small area of general thunderstorms. Then we'll move on to day 3. So this takes us, this is for the period Friday into Saturday, and we start to see a severe weather risk in the southern plains, western Oklahoma, northwest Texas, for the slight risk and a larger area of marginal risk surrounding that. And going in the longer range, we've got risk on day 4. They've actually made the day 4, the risk on day 4 from a couple of days ago when it was day 6. They've made the risk area larger, encompassing down into Texas, including Dallas-Fort Worth, most of Oklahoma and southern Kansas. Day 5, which is Sunday into Monday, we're looking at Arkansas, southern Missouri, southeastern Kansas, eastern Oklahoma, eastern Texas, and northwestern Louisiana. Days 6, 7, and 8, they say they have predictability is too low, which means they're not ruling it out that they might have. There's not enough there for them to put up a risk at this stage of the game. But at least for days 4 and 5, as we always say, when SPC's got severe weather risk in their long range, it's a pretty good idea to pay attention. Now on the radar tonight, there's a line of storms here running from western Wisconsin, cutting across Iowa into northwest Missouri. So that's where they got that tornado watch up. There also looks like there might be a couple of light showers, Joe, in central Ohio, down into eastern Kentucky. That's probably with that, whatever that is, that upper air disturbance that's going by with a lot of the high clouds that are moving east. Most of that should fall apart, though, before it gets anywhere close to, our area anyway.
Right.
We're also seeing precip up in northern Minnesota and some rain showers up in the upper peninsula of Michigan. A lot of activity down back through California and in the Southwest, and that's all part of that energy that's coming in, and that's going to make for some snow. WPC, the weather prediction folks, I've got the probability. Let's go to the probability of at least 4 rather than 2. And let me just fix these so we can see the borders here. So all the action obviously in the West, but they're pretty bullish on at least 4 for a good chunk of Colorado, right up 25. Also in an area that salmon color, by the way, is an 80% probability of at least 4. Also a band there across central Utah, and a few pockets in northern Arizona, and a fairly large area of 50%, which is in the not the darkest blue, but the next shade, the next lighter shade of blue. Let's put up a probability of at least 8 and see what we get. Oh, look at that, Joe. We got an 80% probability of at least 8 in that narrow band in north central Colorado. And I'll jump over to 12. Why don't we take a look at 12? Yeah, they even got a almost 50% chance of at least 12. Do I do 18? The 12 goes up into southeastern Wyoming. Oh, look at that. They even have a 40% chance of at least 18 up in northern Colorado.
Yeah, but how high up do you have to be in order to get 18?
Oh, I don't. You know, one of the one of the things about these maps is you can't see, you know, through the colors, you can't see the cities. And I'm pretty good at geography, but I'm not that good. I'm thinking maybe Fort
Yeah,
Collins is in there somewhere.
yeah,
That's probably
yeah.
the closest I could come to it. And as far as total precip goes, Mr. Rayo, oh, look at this. We haven't seen this in a while. We're at a tenth to a quarter of an inch, believe it or not. This is through next Wednesday night. Quarter to a half, southernmost New Jersey down in Virginia, half to three quarters Virginia into North Carolina. And then you see the lighter blues. That's all from three quarters of an inch to an inch and a half. And then head up into the Central Plains and in the middle Mississippi Valley. And here we can see several inches or more of rain. And there are a couple of systems here in play that'll be coming out of the west. Also, very heavy precip being indicated in the northeastern quarter of Colorado, and that's going to be all snow, or the vast majority of it should be snow, on the order of an inch and three quarters to two and a half, and even some 3 inch amounts in western Nebraska and southeastern Wyoming. So they've
Wow.
got two storms in play here. That could be fairly solid. And more rain continuing over the next week in California from south to north with snow in the mountains. So the winter there was not especially uh, plentiful when it comes to rain for California in particular. So they are making it up in a bigger way here, and that's good news. Although you can always get too much of a good thing. Florida, not really a whole lot going on. The Gulf Coast, yeah, the central Gulf Coast, and the deep South, three quarters of an inch to an inch and a half of rain over the next 7 days. I will say this,
Good.
and let me see if you agree with me. Enjoy to tomorrow and Friday with the warm temperatures, because looking at next week, it looks like it is. You're not going to see. I don't think you're going to see anything like this next week. It's going to be chilly, and it's going to be chilly for at least a few days. Starting this weekend, and then going through a good chunk of next week, we're going to be dealing with chilly air.
Oh, no question, no question. The normal high temperature for the lower Hudson Valley is somewhere between 45 and 50, and I'm looking at temperatures that beginning Saturday. This is what really is going to make it hurt, because you'll have balmy days on Thursday and on Friday, and all of a sudden you go outside on Saturday, mid 40s, mid to upper 40s, maybe barely making it to 40, if not upper 30s on Monday, low 40s on Tuesday. So yeah, all things considered, it's going to be probably at least I would say 4 to 8 degrees below normal beginning
Yep.
Saturday and running right on through the middle part of next week.
So here's our upper air. We've got this wonderful southwest flow that goes we used to call the BB flow, Joe, Baja to Bangor, and that is a
Yeah.
warm flow. And of course, you see this deep upper low that's in California, and that's moving east. There's the northern part of that jet stream has also a short wave that is swinging from western Hudson Bay down to just west of Lake Winnipeg. And of course, all of this is going to progress along. The trough in the north brings the cold front through here, and you see it there as it swings to New England and eastern Canada, and then deepens around over Newfoundland. And if you look at this on Sunday, if you didn't know what was beyond it, you would just look at this. You would look at this and say, you know what? If this trough that's off the East Coast pulls up just enough, and this energy gets pushed along to the east and goes underneath us, you got a nice flow of cold air straight up from northern Canada into the northeastern part of the United States. You think, okay, well, maybe we could do something with that from the standpoint of snow. One of the problems is that trough does not get out of the way. If you look here from Sunday, it starts to pull out, and then there's another little shortwave that comes on down. And what that actually does is that southern system that comes out that looks so vigorous as it comes into California, you see it here, it starts to move eastward. And once it gets out of Colorado into Kansas, it begins to you can see how it goes from being this really tight, wrapped up system on Sunday afternoon, and it starts to just kind of spread out.
Ugh.
Yeah, and it basically gets squashed underneath us. Underneath us, you could barely find it here come Tuesday, going out into the Mid-Atlantic states, and then there's another system right behind it. And as that moves along, that is going to try to lift up toward the Great Lakes. You'll notice, by the way, too, there's an arm that comes down out of Canada that sort of phases with this. So if this is correct, this might be the one chance later next week, maybe along about Thursday of next week, where we could have some widespread rain. Uh, it'll break this dry spell that we're in, and then that pulls away, and now we're moving through starting the week of March 22nd. I'm just looking at this for the first time. And of course, you see how the GFS drives a trough down into the plains, and a ridge builds up into the eastern part of the United States. And then we're at Friday, March 26th, where you've got this sort of broad bowl type upper flow. I bring this up only because, there's been endless chatter about this system or that system being a chance for some snow here at some point. I really am having a lot of trouble accepting that concept. I,
With each passing day, I'm beginning to think that maybe we won't get that 1.4 inches to get to 40 inches for Central Park this year. It doesn't look really nice for snow lovers, especially after the middle part of the month.
You're going to need, you may need an April surprise.
Yeah, yeah. Not taking it entirely off the table yet, but it would be so agonizing if we fell that short, that just shy of 40. I mean, all of a sudden things were really rolling for us, and it was really looking great. I think, and all of a sudden, as if somebody just turned the spigot on the big snow machine and said, "All right, that's enough of that."
Right.
And, I don't know if
Excuse
we're
me.
gonna. I don't know if we're gonna. I don't know if we're going to. To quote a famous politician, I don't know whether or not we'll be able to open the valve again.
I wonder who could that be. All right.
I wonder who could that be.
Yes. So here's our low. This low in in southern Minnesota. Of course, this is producing some of the severe weather that we're talking about tonight. That low runs pretty quickly up toward James Bay. The front is, again, a little bit of shower activity that gets left with it come Thursday across the eastern lakes and down into Ohio. Most of that just kind of dries up. And now, of course, all the attention goes to this developing storm back in southeastern Colorado, that dark blue snow that shows up. I think the European was a little bit more robust with this, which is probably why WPC went as bullish as they did with the snowfall. And of course, you've got this arc of snow on Sunday night into Monday across Nebraska, South Dakota, northern Iowa, southern Minnesota. Now, the models and the European and the GFS imply that there's enough left, there's enough energy left, and this cold high with that strong northwest flow in the upper atmosphere in eastern Canada, it is showing some light snow there in southern Pennsylvania, getting into even southern New Jersey, down into northeast Virginia with some freezing rain. It doesn't get much further north. It all gets shunted out underneath us. And if you're on the northern fringe of this, I got to believe that this is going to be light stuff because you're dealing with a weakening system that's moving into the east. And there's a high. There's a nice high there sitting near James Bay. That's going to keep things chilly here right through the middle part of next week until this low. And this is the system that I pointed out, tries to phase with the north and sets up maybe what could be a widespread rain event here come next Thursday. And you also could see it moving across the southeast with some heavy rains there. I got to buy an umbrella. I don't have an umbrella here with me. I have these Joe Stradamus umbrellas. I left them back in New York. And I'm going to need an umbrella if we get rain in the morning because I got to take JJ out for a walk. And I'm not good when it comes to going out without and getting myself wet. So um, I guess I have to go buy one. And
Get one of those nice big ones.
yes, and then well, that's those Joe Stradamus umbrellas I have are huge. I gave you one of those.
Yes.
They're huge. Well, yeah, I'll have to buy. I'll have to go to the local Walmart and get one. Okay, so out that low goes as it deepens up into eastern Canada. I'm just trying to find the next chance where we might see a bit of a warm up might come. I don't know, the weekend of March 20th, 21st, ahead of another cold front,
Well,
maybe.
it's apropos. That's the vernal equinox, March
Right.
20th.
Yeah, and of course, again, with that more of the troughing dropping in the west, looks like that's where all the action is. Why don't we bring up? I'm going to bring up the snowfall forecast map across the U.S. just to see what kind of numbers we get out west. I'll be kind. I'll only go out for the next 10 days or so. So let me just get yeah. Let me get close up. Yeah, some pretty big numbers, Joe, in Colorado and southeastern Wyoming. Double digit, 20 inches or more, extending south, almost as far south as Denver on some of those big amounts. I'm sure that's going to adjust. But look, the takeaway through all of this is you look at a map like this, and instead of you focusing on the numbers, it's obvious where winter is going to be continuing, and that is in the western part of the United States. If we look in the east for the same time frame, you see the GFS actually does put out a little bit of light precip. This is from this system for early next week. So I got to think that if we do get precip into southern Pennsylvania and southern New Jersey, it's not going to be anything that'll accumulate. I don't think. The GFS wants to be bullish in northwestern Virginia and in parts of eastern West Virginia, uh, in elevated areas. That to me makes a little bit more sense. Maybe there you could wind up with a last gasp snowfall out of this system or this weakening system that's coming for early next week.
Yeah, I did. To me, again, the weekend looks like it's going to turn noticeably chillier, and Monday into Tuesday still rather chilly. There might be a little attempt at a warm up mid or late week next week, but then I think not this weekend, but the following weekend, Joe, I actually think it's going to turn. Let's say for the 19th and 20th, based on the upper air, it looks like we could see another shot of chilly air coming our way for
Mm-hmm.
Friday into the Saturday the 20th, and then it warms up again. Really, if you're hoping for any kind of snow event here of significance, I really don't see it. And I remember just a few days ago there was so many different Facebook pages that were just showing you snow amounts of 15 and 20 inches by the 18th or 20th of March. I don't. Where did that go?
Yeah, it's the usual. It's spit out on a model in the long range, and everybody goes off the deep end with it. I
Don't
don't know.
forget, this is not a. It's not a forecast. This is not a
It's
forecast.
never a forecast.
Yeah. Ah,
And you're right. It's like, what's the point? By the way, I'm going to bring up.
yeah. I think about.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You finish.
I mean, I think about that every time I see there are two television stations in this market that are offering 10-day forecasts, and I say that exact statement that you just said, Joe. What's the point?
There is,
There's some
there is no
most of the time.
point.
Most of the time, it's not even worth some. In some days, it's not even worth going more than 5 days out. You're talking about 10 days. It's great. It's crazy.
I'm on the website, the Tornado HQ, on their tornado tracker, and looking at the radar, just looking at this line. That's a pretty decent looking line of storms that extend just east of Emporia in Kansas, running right now through Kansas City. David Schwartz, thanks for the heads up with some severe thunderstorm warnings that are up in this zone, and on up northeast from there. into into Iowa. That line goes all the way up, almost to the Minnesota state line. So that's not too shabby a line of severe weather that's moving through this evening over parts of the Middle Mississippi Valley and Upper Midwest.
I wonder if they're, let's say, I used to listen to WBBM out of Chicago, and they, I think, have AccuWeather providing their forecast. So I'm wondering whether or not they may have some kind of mention of, possible late night gusty thunderstorms here in Chicagoland, that kind of thing with that line off to the west, moving east. So that's interesting.
We're back up full screen here. Brandon Doherty. Thank you for hitting Super Chat tonight. Really appreciate it. And Robert Russo hit earlier. Thank you, Robert, very, very much indeed. Keith James II says, anyone remember the week of March 22nd, 2014? Bitter cold that week. Teens and 20s, abnormally cold. I was on my honeymoon that week. Crazy cold from what I recall. Yes, and I also distinctly remember that particular March, the local lake near me was... and I had been living in that part of Long Island in Center Reach, Ronkonkoma for 30 years. Never had I seen the lake frozen until the last days of March. But in that particular winter, and in the one that followed in March of 2015, same thing. The lake stayed frozen almost to the end of the month. And it was still cold enough to keep it frozen longer were it not for the strong sun angle, because that pretty much took care of the ice, even though it stayed cold right into April on April of 15, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I do remember that. Those were two very interesting winters, 13-14 and 14-15, and we haven't quite seen anything like that since. Because those were cold. Those were cold, snowy winters almost from start to finish.
I'm just listening, John. I'm hearing like three tones in my head. I put my headphones on, and I'm just hearing, every 5 seconds, bing, 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 bing.
Maybe you won the bonus prize.
Maybe I have. I don't know, but it's weird. I don't know what's causing that. I don't know if it's maybe the battery is low. I don't know. Hey, you know what? I'm going to do? I'm going to take this little thingy out of my...
Yes, do that. Now we can't hear you at all. Oh, good Lord. We're not hearing you. We're not hearing you. There's no audio, Joseph. Oh, good Lord. Technology, Joe. Technology. If the executive producer finds out that you took off that headset.
I'm going to attempt to do something here.
There you go. Now we can hear you.
And
What's on sale today on the second floor?
Well, Joe, I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I hear you now.
Forget it.
You don't hear me. No. Okay. Anyway, you know what? We pretty much ran through all the weather there is to run through tonight. So
No,
let's.
Joe, I'm signing off.
Okay, you sign off. I'm going to say goodbye. And before I do that, I just want to let everybody know that the Joe and Joe Weather Show is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, 631-756-1125 for the best prices in town. Everything you need to get your yard in perfect shape for spring. And brought to you by Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, 631-957-5106. The website is liholidaylighting.com. Your complete holiday lighting specialist, meaning all your decorating needs. And hopefully, I haven't said goodbye yet, Joe. We can hear you.
For decorating needs.
We can hear you, Joe Rayo. Oh, well,
I
look,
haven't said goodbye yet, Joe. We can hear you. We can hear you, Joe Rayo.
I will be back tomorrow.
Oh, well,
Okay. I will be back tomorrow in one piece. I don't know if Joe will be back tomorrow in one piece. Hi, Mrs. Rayo. Joe, say goodbye.
Oh, well, goodbye.
Good night, everybody.